Well, I knew about the vestry piece and I knew about the warden piece, junior warden piece. I did not really know about this verbose words about part of what I lived through. But I'm going to try to read this as briefly as I can, particularly if I can see it, just to kind of give a recap of how youth group and the other young people departments worked throughout the year. So we begin with review of Erica. We began 2003 as boldly as we had begun 2002-2003 program year, still coming off of pandemic years. The start of the program year in September of 2022 was a strong one, and it continued to prove to be a year of return, growth, and yet change. Preparing for the youth group's Taizé mission trip took the form of not only monthly informal meetings, but worship in the style of Taizé discussions of writings by the monks and personal spiritual reflection. As the mission itself was not an outward-facing project of ministry, but rather an adventure in our own journey as seekers, the group took on a more contemplating feel overall. In the late spring, the new youth leaders, Scott Nelson, Diana Dean, began traveling alongside our veterans, Melissa Matheny, Genevieve Slagan, and yours truly. Children's ministry continued with the strong leadership of seasoned and committed catechesis in Sandy Baxter, Susan Calkin, Maria Phelps, and Gail Davies, who served in both the garden and the atrium. The children returned to the favorite traditions, including bilingual family services, the integrational Maundy Thursday dinner, which I believe is pancakes, right? Yeah. Liturgy of the Light, an Easter season, paraliturgy recalling our baptisms, and the Jerusalem Walk on Palm Sunday. All this while continuing to deepen their relationship with God through the rich offerings of the catechesis of the Good Shepherd. Leaving a 16-year ministry began earnest in January. Amy and I began to work on how everything would look for a smooth handover. In February, it became clear that Sarah was a person for the job. What a better way to leave a legacy than to a person who already knows so much about it and brought her own rich experience. Sarah asked a lot of questions, did a lot of listening, and when Erica said goodbye at the end of the Taizé trip, she felt ready and confident that everything would be fine. And it was. So now we're reading from Sarah's words. So we returned from Taizé inspired and refreshed. It was a truly immersive and formative for all of us. Genevieve, Michael, and I saw the students in July a bit and reconnected when we all watched Brian's outstanding video at the end of August, and that video was amazing. It was really, really, really good. In my 25 years of youth and adult ministry, I've never seen a youth minister leave after many years of service without shift and change in the program. Anticipating this, I continued to reach out to our students from the Taizé trip and listen carefully to the requests of parents in the community, both existing families and those who are new to us. From these conversations, by October, I was maintaining a high school youth group at 10 a.m. on Sunday, 7th and 8th graders, 8 to 10 on Sunday at 5 p.m. Sorry, I got that mixed up. 7th and 8th graders, 8 to 10 on Sunday at 5 p.m. and convening with 6th graders on Mondays at 6 p.m. So 3 different groups at 3 different times. With Genevieve, Michael, Melissa, and Scott, Diana, as you know, is leaving us to minister others. Still in place as the youth ministry team, I'm planning to loop them in the middle of the school youth group meetings now that it has been established. I would love to enlist our high schoolers to transform the dead space in the basement, if many of you have been downstairs, there's a small room in the back, into a Taizé-style chapel. I haven't given up on that project. I also have been planning the summer mission trip since September, and the parents are enthusiastic about sending their children to Alabama for an eco-justice and civil rights immersion experience with Jubilee House in Parrish and the Legacy Museum in Montgomery. The children's ministry, shepherded by our able and willing catechesis, Sandy Baxter, Susan Calkin, and Maria Phelps, has been humming along with purpose and rhythm. Maria, Susan, Sandy, and I meet monthly to pray over tasks and needs in the atrium, and it is nourishing for all of us. We have seen an uptick in attendance in the atrium, and both Reverend Wendy and Reverend Amy really love sharing the Eucharist with all of the children upstairs. in October. Our bilingual family mass was special despite Reverend Amy's accident just days before. Thanks to our catechetical team and the children too. In December, we hosted a family Advent festival that was well attended by our children and our middle schoolers, who both participated and helped quite a bit. 35 folks total in attendance. I ended the year submitting a grant with the diocese to move and continue the Good News Garden on the Grace Church property. It's been hiding in the Catholic school backyard. With the help of Edie Couch, Ariane Heather, Reverend Amy, and Jacob Frank, we are looking forward to the experiential learning and catechesis and youth ministry in the garden, as well as providing an opportunity to connect faith with reverence and care for the earth and the abundant generosity of God. After much conversation with people in the community, I planned and led a death and legacy workshop for our church community in October, with lunch provided by Emily Poisson, who bakes in the kitchen. I plan to host this workshop again in Lent and create a more adult formation opportunities for community by listening to what needs might be and responding with presence and programming. Belli Skinner was hired in June to take on most of my former responsibilities as the administrative manager so that I can move more into my new role as associate pastor. While we all know it takes a full year to experience everything here and really get a handle on it, it's been really nice to hand over many of my administrative duties and return to my training and 25 years of experience in ministry. I'm still holding funerals and internment, one-time event rentals, and long-term tenant rentals, staff supervision, budgeting, and other administrative tasks. I am very pleased to hand everything else, especially the kitchen, to Belli. So that was that. I made it through it. And I believe next will be Carrie Brackett with the Go report. Yeah.
Good morning. So first of all, I'd like to share something with you that I just learned this past year. Grace Outreach far exceeds all other churches in our diocese as far as outreach is concerned. Between the $40,000 that we receive from Pledge and Plate, from anonymous donations, and the fundraising that we do, no other church in our diocese comes even close to the amount of work that we're doing around the world. So we are very proud of that, and I wanted you to know that. So a little rundown of what we've done this year. We began the year with a support donation for our local Ukrainian students up at PUC. We were happy to grant them $2,500 to help with school and housing expenses. Grace Church participated again this year in Rise Against Hunger. I'm sure a lot of you were there. Grace Outreach purchased the food and packing supplies for $3,800 and organized a packing day for the congregation and community members. We packed 10,000 meals of rice, soy, dried vegetables, and a micronutrient blend, and then we found out that it was sent to the Philippines. After the devastating earthquake in Turkey and Syria, GO sent $3,000 to the Episcopal Relief and Development for aid to the victims. Grace Outreach sent a grant of $4,000 to the International Rescue Committee to support the refugees from Ukraine. There are 21,900 Ukrainian humanitarian parolees in California, 6,400 in Sacramento, so we actually sent to support Sacramento. GO sent $3,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, an Oregon fundraiser. We helped support a 3-year-old girl with a rare disorder. Our own GO member, Daphne Steele, came to us with the request through her sorority, and we were happy to help with this. Adopt a Family sent $500 to a local family who was in need of some assistance. Their young daughter was receiving treatments from UCSF, and they were having trouble coming up with enough money for gas and transportation. GO sent $3,200 to the students at PUC to help pay for expenses that they could not cover. Car repairs, coats, laptop batteries, things like that they needed. Reverend Amy's discretionary fund was extremely low as we were heading into summer. Knowing there could be fires or other disasters, GO voted to transfer $3,000 from our general fund to the discretionary fund to help those in our community that would need it. At our Grace Church Communications Director Ryan runs Jubilee House in Alabama. This program has many facets, including a 24-hour food pantry, a free store, mutual aid, solidarity work, bill pay, and a new project of a community farm. Go voted to send them a monthly grant of $500 a month, and it's so great to hear that the youth group is going to be going there. That's really great. Rianda House, our local senior center, relies on fundraising for a big portion of their budget. Go sent a grant of $5,000 to support these efforts. Grace Outreach has partnered with the Nepal Youth Foundation for many years. They have not been able to do any fundraising due to COVID. Sam Panaru visited the church from Nepal and talked about the foundation. Many of you probably saw him last fall. Go voted to send a grant of $5,000 to feed malnourished children at the Kathmandu Valley Nutritional Home. Twino has been our longtime contact in Bubare for the scholarship program. He has recently retired and wanted to purchase a cow for milk but could not afford it. So Grace Outreach sent $800 so that he could purchase a cow, and then we helped name it Daisy. Hearts and Hands Preschool, located at St. Luke's, is the only private nonprofit preschool in Calistoga. Grace Outreach sent a grant of $5,000, which this year was going toward the salaries of the bilingual teachers. Kairos Prison Ministry has resumed after a couple of years off due to the pandemic. We send 50 volunteers to San Quentin to work with the men in blue and bring them the Word of God. As expenses have gone up, we previously have been sending them $1,000 a year, but this year Go sent a grant of $1,500 to help with the additional costs. We became aware of an elementary school in Kabbalah, Uganda that lost their meal program because the person supplying it died of COVID. Grace Outreach sent $3,000. The Orphans and Vulnerable Children's Ministry sent $3,000, and we were able to raise another $2,000 from parishioners and the community to get the program up and running again. 2023 saw the second annual newly constructed rummage sale. Folks rented booths to sell their items, and we asked for a donation of 25% of their proceeds. We received a total of $3,200. Go voted to match that, so we sent $3,200 to both Abode Services in Napa and the Redwood Gospel Mission in Santa Rosa, which both work with the homeless. After the devastating fire in Lahaina, Maui, we got in touch with former parishioner Joan Smith, who had moved there. Her church was raising money to help the church in Lahaina that completely burned to the ground, lost everything. We sent $4,000 to help with those efforts. Our annual Adopt a Family Christmas program once again brought us 50 families in the community that needed some help during the holidays. Parishioners in the community adopted 30 of these families, and fortunately, Grace Outreach had money left over from last year, so we could provide baskets to all 50 families. These baskets include items from their wish list, such as blankets, heaters, warm clothing, as well as gift cards so that they can purchase food and gift items for their family members. Up Valley Family Center provides services to over 4,500 individuals in the Upper Valley. They requested a grant of $5,000, which we were able to accommodate. These funds will allow them to assist families with emergency family relief, as well as a host of services such as health insurance, immigration services, and programs for children. Our Orphans and Vulnerable Children's Ministry responded to two needs. The first was a surgery for a special needs young man, Byron, in Nicaragua, for $427, and the other was a $5,000 contribution to the Twino Majuni Orphanage in Uganda for the secondary school and trade tuitions of the older orphanage kids. 2023 was a really fulfilling and blessed year for the Bubare Student Ministry. There were 8 new students that started at Bishop Barnum University, a division of Uganda Christian University. 1 student started at Kabbalah University to work towards a degree not offered at BBUC. 1 student started at the Forestry College not offered at BBUC, and 2 began at a nursing school. Of these 12 students, 1 was our Go Scholar, and 11 are sponsored by Grace and St. Luke's small groups and individuals. This was a year that was unbelievable. We got all of our people sponsored in 1 year, which I don't think we've ever done in the 22 years that we've been doing that. And in 2023, our Baby Love Ministry serves over 450 moms and babies in cooperation with Ole Health, the Homeless Prenatal Program in San Francisco, Birth Companions Community, and the Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital. Baby Love donated 462 fleece blankets, handmade quilts, and knitted blankets, 530 knitted hats, 475 bags of travel-sized toiletries to new moms, and 29 small stuffed animals for siblings of the new babies. We received donations of 146 handmade quilts, 60 hand-knitted blankets, 214 knitted baby hats, and countless toiletries were placed in the Moses basket. So we have had a wonderful year, and thank you to all of you that have helped with that, and we look forward to more in 2024. Thank you. And Phil, our treasurer report is next.
Uh-oh. Good morning. I'm Phil Baxter. I'm here from the Office of the Treasurer. And I was told to keep it short and keep it light. So in that order, I have to put on my bookkeeping hat. So the report this year is one of both gratitude and hope. I've been a member of Grace Church for over 50 years, but I've never served as the treasurer. I've been on vestry several times. Fortunately, I've never had to be a junior warden either. So anyway, here I am as treasurer this year. And it's been a great learning experience. Not only accounting, technology these days. I go back, my first counting class was on a spreadsheet by hand, So I'm learning all the new stuff these days. I'm also learning what makes church treasurers so anxious. So, but I've enjoyed getting to know the parishioners. I've gotten to work with a wonderful staff, and I appreciate their patience and the training and the cooperation of the clergy and the staff and of my fellow parishioners. I also thank the members of the Finance Committee for their faithful service. They are John Sales, David Moreland, Ken Moles, Steve Heller, Mark Linder, Mike Moffett, Diana Dean, Genevieve Schlangen, and the Reverend Amy Zuniga. And I want to thank Marshall Cox, if you're listening today, Marshall, for your excellent abilities and for your patience and tutoring and good humor as you dealt with me coming into your office space. So I claim this year as one of gratitude because I have seen how you are all so gracious and generous parishioners and have been faithfully and prayerfully contributing to the support and sustaining the mission of Grace Church. Speaking for the vestry and the parish as a whole, we thank you for all of your heartfelt and selfless contributions. Do I have a chart? Is there a... the fun stuff, I told you. Okay, this is an excerpt of the expenditures. Can we go back one to there should be one for payroll, revenue. No? Okay. It's in the paper here. Something of our... Oh, okay. Super. Thank you, Brian. The revenue that we collected through Plate and Pledge is $451,000. And that's where I was a little worried through the year because we were running really low and it looked like we were going to have a major deficit in our income. But I found out that December is when it really rains here, and over 20% of the income of the Plate and Pledge, your donations came in December and picked this up. So even though we were way below the budget was a little bit over optimistic perhaps, but we came up with $451,000 of your Plate and Pledge numbers here. There was also a little bit of income from the investment income, which I'll get back to later. But one of the outstanding areas is in the rental income. And this is where we primarily renting the use of Bourne Hall and the facilities over there, lots of 15th birthday parties, lots of wedding receptions, things like this. And that brought in, let's say, 105, which was quite a bit over the 75,000 that was planned. So, first of all, the plate and pledge represents about 72% of the total net revenue. And that's about in the same level that we were last year too, so we're maintaining that. But the increase in the rental income was substantial. And this is due to the diligent management and supervision of the staff members, Belli, Sandra, and Sarah. Well done you. Because I've been able, in the office, see how hard they work to get this working right, to get the kitchen working right, the stove's not working, call the repair guy, that kind of stuff. It's a lot of concentrated effort there, and it has paid off that this year's budget will be even higher in that amount. So if you look at the budget for this coming year in income or revenue, we are projected for the rental income to be at least 119,000, and we think it's very likely to be over that. The Finance Committee has also authorized the use of $40,000 from the investment fund income to be used in the operating income also. So the budget for next year, for 2024, income, we're projecting, is that up there? Well, we're projecting that Grace Giving will be about 450,000. There you go. And that the investment income, that 40,000, we're going to be moving over from the investment accounts, the reserve funds, rental income, and fundraising income. Now, fundraising, we have a big event, the Taste of Grace. We had it first weekend of December, I think. And it came together all of a sudden. It was fantastic. Now, the budget was $25,000, but we brought in over $21,000 towards that event. And it was a terrific event. Had a lot of competition from other things going on, but it had a lot of hard work behind it. And it was a lot of fun. So well done there. And as far as that event for next year, we don't have a plan yet. And people stepping forward to tell us how they're going to get it done. So we're budgeting that income at only $10,000. So we're looking for somebody with a bright idea and a big dream, and get that done. The revenue now for next expenses this year. Let's go back to that one, Brian. Thank you. Yeah, even though the revenue was down from the budget this year, so were the expenses. So clergy and staff payroll are about 56% of the total expenditures, and that's about where we have been for a while, and that's actually just about the same or maybe slightly below where our neighbors in Santa Rosa or Napa might be also. So we're doing pretty well in our expense overall, and that was down from the budgeted numbers too. Facility costs were down a little bit. And just a highlight for where we're going for next year, the utilities have gone up from $36,000 in 2022 to $47,000 just this last year that we just finished. So you can see that the cost is going to be increased there by quite a bit. Also, the insurance expenses have surged from $20,000 up to $30,000. So we have some overhead costs there that we still have to accommodate. The budget has been approved and is in the books and being worked with now. Notable in other revenue for last year was the receipt of $100,000 from the government COVID relief program. That's not available this year. And our budget for this year is going to leave us about $100,000 short. Now, we're planning that if that really happens that way, we've got the money in the reserve funds to handle that, but you can't do that year after year after year. Trying to make this a little shorter. As I said at the beginning of the report, that this was a report of gratitude and hope. And it's gratitude for all of the brothers and sisters here at Grace Church and for the dedication of their time, talent, and treasure. It is this dedication that opens us up to hope. I also mentioned hope. Hope is not wishful thinking or being overly optimistic. To quote Bishop Charleston, and yet we are certain of the outcome, not by wishful thinking, but by an unbreakable partnership with the source of hope itself, the eternal spirit of renewal. And I think this ties in with what you're saying too, as we dream more. And what are the dreams for Grace Church? Teresa White is a sister of the Friends of Jesus, FCJ, I forget exactly what C stands for. Anyway, she writes that hope is a gift of the Holy Spirit. So it's not being overly optimistic, not wishful thinking, but it's a gift that we receive from the Holy Spirit. When that Holy Spirit that dwells in us can grab hands or mesh with God's own Spirit, think what can be possible. Or can we even, can we even imagine what's possible? Bishop Allen said once, what was God going to do with this? Well, what is God going to do with Grace Church? And what I'm saying is that through the use of our treasury, that we can get prepared for that. And who knows what the great dreams that we will create for that. If you haven't made a pledge yet, I got pledge cards, and we got a lot of that back there. But thank you very much for your generosity. I forgot to introduce Lex. It's catchy here.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have any slides. And I was thinking of Erica Trez this morning as I was driving over here. I don't play the guitar. I don't have a song to sing. But I will try to give you a report concerning the Sustaining Grace Fund. Phil, that was a great report and a very inspirational talk. And I think that the Sustaining Grace Fund kind of feeds right into the kinds of things you're talking about. It will hopefully, in the long run, reduce your stress, which will be great. And it will also carry the vision of this church out for the next 150 years. So that's what the fund is all about in an overview. So I was just asked to do this a couple of days ago, so I apologize for not having any visual aids. First of all, I'd like to thank the members of the committee, whom you may not all know, that are on the committee. I mean, you all know them, but you may not know they're on the committee. And that would be Mark Linder, Steve Heller, who has slid in just recently, whether he knows it or not, David Moreland, Ken Mall, and then Beth Hirschenhardt was supposed to be here today, and I don't see her. She's our consultant, and she's done a fantastic job in kind of guiding us along. So I thought what I'd do today is just kind of give us a brief overview of what we're about, where we are, and why it's so important. This endeavor is so important. And I want to, before I do that, because I'm going to forget this if I don't do it right away, because at my age, things jump into mind and jump out again rather rapidly. But as you all know, one of the big emphases of the Sustaining Grace Fund has been these gatherings. I think over 100 people in this parish have gone to these gatherings. They're ostensibly about a lot of things. One is to sort of inform you about the Sustaining Grace Fund, but I think more importantly is to bring us together, to energize us, to renew us in our love of this church. And they really are the brainchild and the impetus behind them of one person and his loving wife, So I want to give a great shout out to Mark Linder and Mary Linder for having done these gatherings. They really have done a fantastic job. So very briefly, what is Sustaining Grace Fund? Well, it is a permanent standing fund created by Grace Church for Grace Church. That's the most important thing. The money, the funds are going to come from legacy gifts, outright and immediate gifts from this parish, and hopefully from the community at large. We hope to reach out into the community to augment that. What is its purpose? Well, its purpose is, from a general standpoint, is to create what I call short-term financial flexibility for the church, so that, for example, when Phil says, I need $100,000 to make my budget, this fund could be could create that opportunity for him. It also creates long-term stability for the church. Hopefully this fund, when it reaches the level we hope to get to, will create a stability for this church for the next 150 years and more. So our goal in this fund is to raise $5 million by the end of next year. The end of next year is, of course, the 150th anniversary of the church. And I want to kind of give you a vision of what that would look like. If we, in fact, have a fund by the end of 2025 of $5 million, that under the terms of the fund itself would allow us to have $250,000 a year for operating needs, special needs of the church, a Go Committee special effort. It just will give us this tremendous flexibility to secure the financial well-being of the church and to allow us to go out into the world as we should. That was one of the things that we discussed in our little group, and make an impact on the world in whatever way we think it's important. So raising this amount is going to be a very, very important thing and a very exciting thing for this church. So where are we today? It's very exciting where we are today. The fund, there's Beth. Hi, Beth. I hope I'm not, you can come up here and kick me if I'm doing something wrong. But anyway, there's Beth Hirschenhardt is our wonderful consultant, and she's in the back of the room there. So where are we today? It's very exciting. The fund now has a value of over $1 million. We have raised over $700,000 since the start of this campaign, and that doesn't count many of the pledges that have not been funded yet. We are in the middle of this campaign. Part of that is the gatherings that I mentioned before, thanks to Mark and Mary. Those are going to continue. We hope those of you who have not gone to one of these gatherings will go to one of these gatherings. And one, to learn more about the Sustaining Grace Fund. Two, to connect with all your fellow parishioners. And I think three, to just kind of revitalize our energy around this church. The committee itself is going to be reaching out, hopefully, to every one of you through the next year and a half. We're a relatively small group, so if you haven't been contacted yet, don't worry. We'll track you down and we'll find you. But I guess my final message is I hope everybody will participate, as I know you will. This is a tremendously giving, wonderful community. But if we achieve this goal, it will take such a tremendous pressure off us on a year-to-year basis and ensure that this church, this wonderful community, this loving community will exist for another 150 years. So that's my report. We'll be around. Oh, one other thing, there are materials. If you haven't received materials about the Sustaining Grace Fund, please reach out to me or one of the committee members and we'll be sure to get those to you. So here we go. Let's have fun. Let's raise that $5 million. And thank you very much.
So Mark's coming up to give our final word, which is thank you. That's been a repeating theme. But I just want to say we don't have time in this format for questions, but we do next door. So our potluck is all set up over there. It's going to be wonderful. There's lunch, there's brunch for everybody, and you get to go home and watch football still, if that's your thing. But seek out the folks that have spoken today, the other people that haven't spoken, but their reports are in the packet that you got. Ask questions, have the conversations, and learn more. You can even email people. All of our meetings are open. You can sit in on meetings. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody for all their work putting this together. And Mark, you take it away.
And that's what we're doing to end up this annual meeting, is we are thanking the volunteers. And there are many, many of you that have volunteered throughout the past year of 2023, and we just want to express our recognition and thanks to you. We know that the list that you've seen up here and that it's printed is not perfect. Some of the names are left off, not on purpose, but for some reason, like there's a gentleman on the Food and Hospitality Committee that we see around here every once in a while, and I went through the list this morning 5 times. Grant Shalley is not listed. Okay, so Grant, being the humble guy that he is, he sent me the list of all those that helped out on Food and Hospitality this year, but he didn't put his name on the list. And we did a copy and paste job, right, to get this together. So anyhow, that's one example, and Grant, we apologize. And there's many of you, I'm sure that maybe your names are misspelled. We forgot to put you on the list. You didn't get listed. I know Alexandra has 2 granddaughters that helped in the cleanup day. That's another thing. The Grace cleanup days didn't even get on this list, okay? This is our first time at this. This is a template. We're going to keep it going in the future because volunteers is what makes Grace happen. We've got a great staff, but they can't do it all. And I just have said this over and over again. We are so blessed at Grace Church to have the many volunteers that we have throughout the year that make Grace happen. And you look at this list of people that's in your written report and up here on the screens that we have. It's just incredible. And we thank all of you for your time and effort that you put forth to make Grace happen throughout the year. So now, hopefully this will give you some of you incentive to want to get your name on the list for next year, right? So next year in 2024, we're going to honor and recognize all the volunteers. But thank you. And lastly, I just really want to say thanks to Amy, Reverend Amy, and the entire staff. They're in your bulletin. Let's take a moment just to express our appreciation to Reverend Amy and the entire staff that make this happen.